Long time ago, when you and me, we were just babies or non-existent, the labels would go and find beginner artists, some potential talented skillful artists who they will take into their label house, and they will help them, give them resources, train them, and try to get them to blow up, become successful music stars. So back then people would wait and just do their music, play some like small gigs here and there, and hope that someone from the label will find them and make them into a star. But nowadays it's a bit different. Nowadays there is a new section in the middle which is called cloud. I don't know if you can see that. So nowadays the labels can just wait and let the artist be on their own and do all the work themselves and build a small fan base and get some clout, get some recognition, get some momentum for their career. And once they reach this stage, here the label will like see and pick the ones they want. So instead of picking the artist from here, from the beginning, the labels will pick them from here. So from labels' point of view, this is a good thing. So let's remember that label is a business and it only cares about that, and it doesn't really care about the artist. Labels just use the artist to profit, okay? So nowadays the labels can just sit back and wait for the artists to get some attraction. So basically the artists are gonna do all the work themselves, all the hard work, and they're gonna do the kind of like a market research on like what works and what doesn't. And then the label is just gonna invest some money, invest some resources. So basically the artist is the company and the label is just the investor. So for labels this is obviously good because they don't have to gamble that much. They don't need to like throw dice and see pick artists and do all the work before seeing like if it's gonna work or not. They can just see that, okay, like this artist is already successful, so we will just invest more in that and they get easier profits. From artist's point of view, well, it has good and bad sides to it. The good thing is nowadays artists can like have a lot more like access to many resources, and things are cheaper to do and easier to do because of tech and that kind of stuff. So you can do a lot of stuff if you just know how to on your laptop only. And also just the equipment itself is not that expensive. But the downside is that the artists basically have to do all the work themselves still. And unless you're super lucky, you already have like a team of people around you. Like if you happen to be so lucky that you know some people from the industry, some producers, some engineers, some marketing people, you're really lucky. But for most artists, that's not the case. For most artists, it's just them on their own, and they only like care about the music mainly, which they love to do, which is their passion. So most artists are completely alone, from going to the beginner artist to the gaining some attraction artist, clout artist stage. So the problem is that the label is only gonna help you from here to here, from the clout stage to the label, if you're qualified good enough. But the problem is that this part is the most difficult part, from getting here to here, and you're completely alone. So that is a huge problem, because before it used to be like labels would help you or not, and it's just like depends on that. But now you like doesn't matter who you are, you're pretty likely super alone with this stuff. So there are like two ways you could go about this. Well, actually 3 ways. First one is something you don't want to do, and you don't want to just like try to learn everything on your own, because it's like pretty much impossible to learn everything on your own. And even if you do, it just takes too much time. It's just impossible to like learn to do everything on your own. So don't do that. That's really stupid. Second way of doing this is something that most artists do, and it is that you just pay for random people to do different stuff. So for example, you pay some random producer to make some beats, you pay for some like random engineer to mix and master your song, you pay for some like marketing genius to help you with the marketing stuff, and you just like do a bits here and there, and that's like, well, I guess that's cool, but it's kind of inconvenient, and it's not really like fun to just work with like random people here and there. Of course, it is good if you're able to like build connections with these people, But usually when you're in this stage, it is pretty difficult because it's difficult to build connections when you don't have any recognition already. And it's difficult to get recognition because you don't have connections. So it is this kind of like infinite loophole of like loneliness and trying to figure it out on your own, you know, in here. So the third way of doing this, and in my opinion the best way, and this is kind of what this whole video is about, it's about having a community for independent artists here. So the point of this community is that it would like help train artists with everything they need and give them resources and just help with everything to, instead of just being an artist, becoming a successful business as an artist. Because the labels, they are just investors. Like they give you some money and they gain some money from you. That's it. And this community will take care of everything else. So what this community will consist of, at least in the beginning stage, can add more stuff, and there will be more stuff. So what this community will consist of would be group calls, and this would be almost daily group calls which would have different subjects every day, like marketing, music production, like making the music sound good actually, technical stuff, feedback, basically anything an independent artist would need help with. Then some secret marketing resources. So this is kind of a new thing. You cannot really get this for music from anywhere else at the moment. I'm not gonna talk about it much in this video, but it's called Clipping Army. I'm probably gonna make another video about it. But this is, in my opinion, the best way to market your music now. And then you would have access to a proper mix and master, not any AI bullshit that doesn't actually sound good. A proper mix and master. So basically this covers everything that independent artists would need help with. And then even if you get into a label, this would still be helpful because the label, like I said, they're just gonna give you some resources, some money, but they're actually not gonna help you with this personal stuff. So yeah, I think this community would be a big help, especially because like I said many times before, that gap from getting beginner stage to the cloud stage is really difficult on your own. Let me know what you think about this, leave some feedback, and if you have some good ideas on what to include in this community, that would be great too. I will see you guys later.